Welcome back to With Love, Misty. How are you doing? How are you feeling? How's your heart? How's your soul? Are you happy? Are you feeling funky? Like, what's on you? Talk to me. Even though I'm reading this book, this is episode 12 of Vibrate Higher Daily. This is still a form of holding space for you. So, talk to me. I love your feedback, and hopefully, you've gotten a chance to catch up on episode 1 through 11. I put everything in a playlist so it makes it easy. You can come back to it at your leisure. So tap in, share. If it resonates, share. If you think it resonates with somebody else and they need to hear it, share it. But if you are here for yourself and you are listening and been listening, thank you so very much. Know that I come to you with love. Um, I feel like we are growing together. I say, let's grow together, heal together. I was talking to a friend tonight and I was just telling her, I was like, there's still some toxic shit with me, but, so we're saying that there's balance. So we're finding the balance and we are doing our best to prune our lives like pruning anything to really live at our highest potential. I have many goals and I'll go into that. I'm going to do a talk back today. I'll just, hop into it now. We are on page 141 of Vibrate Higher Daily by Layla Delia. Live in your power. I always say, stand in your power. But, it's like I was standing in my power at times, but I love how profound on the cover of her book it says, live in your power. So I'm trying to live in my power. I'm working on living in my power as well. So let's get to it. Please give me some grace. This is raw, uncut, unedited, and we are, showing up here together. So, who is in your mirror? Your life will mirror back to you your closest friends, so choose people who are a beautiful reflection of how you desire your life to be. What's in the mirror? Growth, empowerment, and thriving. I knew I was in the right friendship when I looked around and everyone was thriving. When I think of my mirror, two of the primary people who come to mind are my Uncle Willie, one of the 7 American World War II heroes honored in 2018 by Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and my Aunt Helen, a retired registered nurse. They are both in their 90s now and are still thriving and as lively as ever. I grew up very close to them from childhood and even stayed with Uncle Willie and Aunt Helen for a while during my last years, right after high school. They took me in, nurtured me, displayed nothing but pure old-fashioned love. Uncle Willie still calls me sugar as a term of endearment, as he's done for as long as I can remember, and ends our conversations by saying, "You take care of yourself. You know the way home." Or he maybe said it like this: "You take care of yourself. You know your way home." Yeah, she didn't put that in the book, but I had to do it. These genuine words move my heart and nourish my soul every time I hear them. Feeling held and looked after in a rich way by my oldest living relatives in this modern, fast digital age is medicinal and sacred, and I cherish it so very much. Conversations in the right relationships are full of balance, encouragement, and inspiration. In these relationships, if we do talk about heavy situations or feelings of disempowerment, it's not just for the sake of it or to stay there and put a period on it. It's to work together toward transformation and progress. Together, we pivot and vibrate higher. These relationships are refreshingly solution orientated. The wrong relationships, in contrast, are only focused on the problem And in that case, Layla has left the chat, and so has Misty. Where in your life can you observe problem-centered relationships? Where in your life can you observe problem-centered relationships? Be mindful of these red flags in other people. These red flags are they find only fault in themselves, you, and others. They always share bad news. They speak down to, belittle, or dishonor you and others. They don't honor your needs or request for a more positive connection and environment. I'm going to read that list again. Where in your life can you observe problem-centered relationships? Be mindful of these red flags in other people. They find only fault in themselves, you, and others. They always share bad news. They speak down to, belittle, or dishonor you and others. They don't honor your needs or request for a more positive connection and environment. They focus on what triggers you rather than on what empowers and settles you. They aren't interested in resolving problems in the long term because of their own inner settings. Progress is short-lived and scarce for them. They prefer to remain in toxic situations and expect you to joyfully visit them there. If you find yourself with friends like these, please know that they are not friends at all. Somebody had to tell you. Vibrational-based living is about stepping into your power. In this case, the power to decide who to allow in your life. The relationship with yourself, the hero of your life. I have to show you this. Look how big that is. The relationship with yourself, the hero of your life. We often expect others to be the remedy or the hero. This is nice in fairy tales and books, but in real life, music stops with the scratch sound effect here. You, sweet beloved soul, are the hero. Whenever you feel heavily laden or like the underdog, remember that. You are the hero. Just as Dorothy in The Wiz, played by Diana Ross, and in The Wizard of Oz, played by Judy Garland, discovers in the end, you have the power all along. If I were to give you homework for your self-worth, it would be to watch The Wiz with the original cast and meditate on the song If You Believe, sung by Lena Horne in the movie and by Diana Ross on the soundtrack. Both versions of this song are spirituals, in my opinion. Watch the film and see yourself as each of the characters. Dorothy rising to her place of empowerment in the world, Scarecrow gaining wisdom, the Tin Man gaining a heart, and the Cowardly Lion gaining courage. The journey down the yellow brick road is a metaphor that we can each insert ourselves into at different terrains. The journey down the journey down the yellow brick road is a metaphor that we can each insert ourselves into at different terrains, seasons, and junctions of life. Watch the movie with Joseph Campbell's hero motif in mind, with the dark night of the soul in mind, and with this book's metaphorical terrains in mind. Your mindset can send you into further distress, anxiety, and dispowerment around others, or it can awaken and activate the warrior and hero within to rise and turn all the way up as much as necessary, and turn all the way up as much as necessary. Be wary of which mindset you are enabling. Implementing the practices within this book will support your inner hero and your mission and keep you fortified on the journey. In dire times, you may be the only one available to you. In dire times, you may be the only one available to you. Knowing this has allowed me to vibrate higher and be okay with or without anyone else in sight. On God. Here are two strategies I use for checking in on my relationship with myself. Like a magnet. Self-worth is like a magnet. It affects so much of how others treat us, communicate with us, and relate to us. How are you taking your place in the world and among others? How are you taking your place in the world and among others? Are you living in your power? Are you? Are you living in a healthy vibration of self-worth? Or are you living in a self-defeating mindset and life? A big part of self-worth is knowing and remembering who you are, even in the presence of others. It's one thing to feel empowered when you're alone in your personal sacred world, but it's another to live in your power and self-worth when you're out in the world relating to and dealing with others. Change the inner narrative. Sometimes the disempowering conversations we have allowed with other people are actually reflections of the internal ones that we've had with ourselves for years. When we believe that it's acceptable to speak negatively to ourselves, we often allow others to speak to us poorly. Change how you speak to yourself internally, and you'll change everything. Once I stopped having those harmful conversations with myself and instead spoke and honored more affirming ones, I saw myself differently, and in better relationships and conversations showed up in my life. I saw myself differently, and better relationships and conversations showed up in my life. Visual exercise. Draw a tree. By the way, I'm going to pause. Hopefully, if you've watched the other episodes, you've picked up a journal. If you haven't, I'm just going to stop right here and just say pick up a journal, a notebook, or something that you can write in, because some of the earlier episodes have little homework and self-assessments for you to do. This visual exercise does require you to write on a piece of paper. So it'll be on the playlist, so you can always come back to it later. Okay. Visual exercise. Draw a tree. On each of its branches, place the names of a person in your life. Draw a tree, and on each of its branches, place the name of a person in your life. For the people who are in your life, in a positive way, draw a big green leaf on that branch. For the people who are distracting you from thriving, who are not serving you in a positive way, and whose energy branch has died but is still attached to you, draw a red flag on that branch. Seeing the red flags allows you to recognize what needs pruning from your life in order for your tree to grow more full, more fruitful, more beautiful, and more healthy. After you see what needs pruning, work on it. Do this exercise with vibrational awareness and non-judgment. Pruning isn't a bad thing. Simply clip and move, then repeat, as in release from the tree of your life anyone who is a clear red flag. Graciously prune where necessary while living in your power. If you feel tender after trimming someone out of your tree, give the healing some time. Time closes and heals all wounds. Support and signal glorious new life to birth into existence. And let's go back. I apologize. Graciously pruning where necessary while living in your power. If you feel tender after trimming someone out of your life or out of your tree, give the healing some time. Time closes and heals all wounds. And treasure the fact that by pruning your personal tree of life, you support and signal glorious new life to birth into existence. You support and signal glorious new life to birth into existence. Okay. Follow your nudge to reach out to loved ones. You never know how much, this is a quote, Follow your nudge to reach out to loved ones. You never know how much you'll be a vessel for the divine and conduit to another soul. When you seek approval from outside of yourself, be mindful not to become solely reliant on the gratifying validation of others. Leaving it up to others to recognize what I needed to recognize for myself caused many unfulfilled relationships. While not all the potential, not while not all had the potential to thrive, some did, and maybe some could have been more beautiful had I been in my higher awareness. So thank goodness for growth. Thank goodness for growth there. At times, you'll have to pause and recognize how far you've come and appreciate it for yourself, regardless of whether anyone else does or doesn't. Self acknowledgement of growth and efforts is critical to remaining in your power. It's how I took my power and joy back many times. Your own love, your own love is divine medicine. Vibrating higher in the world. You have come this far. You have become aware of energy and vibration in a new and more empowering way. You have journeyed through many terrains and you have discovered the hero within. You have learned how to nurture the right relationships in your life and how to handle the not so great ones. You are doing the inner work. With this ever growing and empowering awareness, with this ever growing and empowering awareness, a new invitation now emerges. Turn your attention and intention outward. It's no secret that the world we live in possesses daily challenges. As your eyes and heart open to what's going on, the picture becomes clearer and clearer. There are endless ways with systemic and vibrational hindrances over. There are endless ways in which systemic and vibrational hindrances overwhelm us and even hold us back. Information and education are unbalanced and have proved numerous times to be untrustworthy, irresponsible, and biased. The modern day health food supply and industry are not accessible to all, being too expensive for the majority of people who so urgently need healthy food. Our televisions, newspapers, and social media flood us on psychological, heart, and soul levels with toxic messages of fear, hate, separatism. It's hard to find nourishing, positive messages of hope, courage, love, peace, harmony, progress, when such stories are overshadowed and drowned out by all the toxicity. More and more mainstream culture is created and influenced by big budget marketing instead of genuine and relatable voices. And what's more, our mind and bodies, from our nervous systems to our hormonal systems to our thought processes and behavioral patterns, have come under attack, often altered by toxic chemicals in medicine, water, and everyday household products. Many awakened experts and leaders in the fields of health, spirituality, and science have recognized this as a modern day chemical warfare. Wow. Many awakened experts and leaders in the field of health, spirituality, and science have recognized this as modern day chemical warfare. Wow. Our response used to be simply give in, give up, tune out until a much greater force began to shake us awake to take our power back. How do we show up in a world that we recognize as toxic, wounded, divided, and hurting in all directions while we are seeking enlightenment, healing, balance, and harmony, and a higher vibrational life? How do we exit the metaphorical terrains and the life we've overcome with higher perspective, power, and purpose? And how do we exit the metaphorical terrains and the life we've overcome with higher perspective, power, and purpose? How? Taking your place in the world. Many people remain desensitized to the low vibration of our world, but you have now begun awakening and feeling and rising in self-compassion and compassion towards others. You are waking up, snapping out of a spell, and realizing which of the hypnotic, damaging ways of the world don't serve or benefit you. Like you, more and more people are collectively rising and growing into this vibrational awareness daily. A vibrational aware and empowered life serves not only you, it also serves the world around you. Self-care and personal development matter. They help us discover our own inner power, which is the only way we can thrive in the long term. Moreover, a higher power and plan are at work, taking our daily awareness of vibrational forces and radiating it outward. It's true alchemy. And as we vibrate higher daily, live in our power, and show up as conduits, we support that divine good, ultimately nourishing and helping to reconcile the human and environmental conditions around us. This state, one that is aligned with a purpose beyond ourselves, allows us to cease journeying with no real sense of direction or a clear place to go. We are in the driver's seat. We have a choice to honor and follow higher guidance and to not judge the outcome or work at hand solely on the basis of our own human ability, experience, limiting beliefs, or fears. Fear can become a major restraint on the journey. Failure to launch. Many of us from time to time, myself included, have found launching into the world in a greater way was frightening, complex, and outright triggering. Many of us from time to time, myself included, have found launching into the world in a greater way frightening, complex, and outright triggering, especially when we are just coming home to ourselves. During this process, opening and expanding outward into the world is a lot to comprehend and fully digest. In response, we may run or hide from the call when we get it, and may even find ourselves living in a state of rebellion and limbo. When this happens, we stay with what's familiar and comfortable. Even when familiar and comfortable are not what's most nurturing, beneficial, and purposeful for our soul and its journey. The phrase failure to launch refers to young people struggling with the transition of leaving their home base and entering into the adult world. But it can also symbolically represent something that happens spiritually and metaphorically among people of diverse ages and backgrounds. There are various reasons why we fail to launch out of our comfort zones. Maybe our gifts and talents were never acknowledged, developed, or supported, and so we have a hard time inserting ourselves into the world. Maybe we've been over-nurtured and under-nurtured or sheltered by a parent or a caregiver, like a plant that gets too much or not enough water or is not placed in the right light. Maybe we don't recognize when we've outgrown certain environments or relationships. It is vital to our soul's growth to continually develop ourselves. And a key part of this experience is launching our lives outward, forward, beyond. When we do so, a life of stagnation, resistance, or limbo is replaced with a life of movement, higher passion, and surrender to purpose. Inertia defeated. Like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz and The Wiz, we are journeying on our own yellow brick road in search of ourselves and overcoming various conditions and terrains along the way. Metaphorically, we too are in search of home, a nourishing home base from which we go forth and live our power in the world. It takes power that we don't always think we have to do what we are called to do. Whenever I find myself feeling inadequate in the world of work and purpose, I remember that there's always a higher source of power within. Keeping close to what helps my faith stay alive, active, and strong keeps me on track. A nourishing home base for me is my spiritual life and relationship with the divine. Spending time and loving and nurturing the a nurse. Let me go back. A nourishing home base for me is my spiritual life and relationship with the divine. Spending time with loving and nurturing souls, and doing the things that make me vibrate higher daily. What's home to you? Expansion into the world you go. As you move beyond and outgrown life, overcome fearfulness, shift from unharmonious cycles, or break self-destructive patterns, you enter the realm of greater purpose. Read it again. As you move beyond an outgrown life, overcome fearfulness, shift from unharmonious cycles, or break self-destructive habits, you enter the realm of greater purpose. You reconfigure yet again, this time, though, focused on self and the greater collective good. Here are awakening drive and power come over you. Here, an awakening drive and power come over you. No longer unwilling or afraid to take your place in the world. You set off to manifest and advance high vibrational living in expressive and effective ways. As you continue moving through life deeply rooted in higher awareness of who you are, you're able to find your place of power in the movement and mission of life. When I found myself on the path to vibrational awareness and eventually radiating that awareness outward, the things I did and the way I created shift as a divine byproduct of surrendering to my transformation and healing journey. My soul's goal and desire were now to do that which I felt called to do. But that didn't mean the path was without obstacles. Going into the world with gifts can be scary. When I decided to share with many others my tips, advice, insights on vibrational based living, I started doing so for free via emails, phone calls, and online. Blocked by fear and self-doubt, I resisted turning what I loved and was told I was good at into a living. I often thought, am I qualified enough? Will I be taken seriously? Who will compensate me for this? Will I be judged? Will I succeed? Who am I to do this? Who am I to do this anyway? These kinds of questions overpowered my mind. They kept me playing small and on the sidelines of life. I began to look deeper to assess whether desiring to stay in my comfort zone was holding me back. And yep, indeed it was. Realizing that my comfort zone had become a block, a low vibration of fear, I chose to rise above it by honoring my gifts and talents more. As numerous sacred texts teach us, knowing how to honor and use our gifts will make room for us in the world. I love that. As numerous sacred texts teach us, knowing how to honor and use our gifts will make room for us in the world. Once I surrendered my gifts to the divine's plan and began making steps in that direction, the path unfolded as I took each step. I continued taking steps on the path daily. Hello, new way of being in the world, new reality, new me. Launching into the world isn't just one step, of course, it's a process, an ongoing one. I remember being a bundle of nerves before my first speaking engagement, and my sister, who was living in another state at the time, jumped on a plane to be by my side. With her cheering me on, I was able to calm my nerves, and with a small amount of courage, I walked toward the podium and I gave my first public talk. And I survived it. Afterward, we celebrated with our favorite smoothies and great food. Cheers to doing your thing out there, self. Years later, I found myself once again overcoming a similar obstacle in order to continue to expand my work in the world. I was launching my first ever website, which was a milestone for my business And the moment I was ready to hit the button and publish it, I paused. All of the common self-doubts arose within me again. I said to my friend Divine and daughter India, who were right by my side supporting me on launch night, that maybe I should wait another 2 days. This would give me plenty of time to work out the small issues that showed up at the last minute, I reasoned. All I can say is India and Divine are heaven sent, pun intended. Humorously, they both let me know it was going to be a problem if I didn't hit that publish button and launch myself into the world at 12 a.m. And so at midnight, I did it. I launched. Into the world I went. Divine and India were my reinforcements. They helped me stay accountable, on task, courageous, and on course. And I recognized and honored the force working through them to help me. What I learned about launching into the world, is that the power comes by doing the work and taking the necessary steps forward. Fear and resistance may show up, but through awareness, we recognize these feelings as the terrains they are and journey forward and beyond them with wisdom. The path becomes clearer by traveling it. The learning curves and failures along the way are gifts and part of our higher development and awakening as conduits. And allowing someone we trust to hold us accountable and keep us on purpose is paramount. These are your reinforcements. You will also meet and manifest the most amazing people who will help you along the way as you journey with purpose. None of this, my supportive friendships, relationships, and work as a spiritual teacher, would have become my new reality had I remained trapped in doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs. I had to expand my awareness, intention, and efforts toward ultimately living my power in the world. No more fear-based living for me. Pattern interrupted. Remember, vibrational-based living teaches us that all things are interconnected. The high vibrations that carried and lifted you and the low ones that brought you to your knees didn't happen without a greater purpose. Everything is interwoven, and like the good sacred book says, all things work for good when you're living in higher alignment and reverence. When you become a clear channel through which the divine and high vibrations can flow and work, you can create real and undeniable change. I'm going to read that again. When you become a clear channel through which the divine and high vibrations can flow and work, you can create real and undeniable change. Whew. Okay. That is the end of episode 12. I'll be doing a talk back after this. I want to go back and let you guys in on all of the quotes. I decided to put those quotes in the talk back. Then I can elaborate. I hope you enjoy this. Please pick up a journal. I cannot wait to provide you with journals at some point. That's on the list. That's me putting myself in the world, going forward in the world. But until then, get something that you love looking at. Get a journal, a notepad or something so you can do the self-assessment in, I think it's episode 4, and catch up and make notes. And hopefully, if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Share, listen again, tap in, know that I'm holding space for you. I'm sending you so much love. Let's continue to heal together. And if you're not healing and you're just trying to vibrate higher and you feel good, great. I'm healing and I'm growing and I'm working towards just living in my power. So I'll see you at the talk back. Until next time, with so much love, Misty.